went by like we were standing still. Blue leader to group. Get off the air. What's on the ASA? Oh my God.
I mean, he's like, hey, sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cap. It showed back up. It just popped up. You know, this is like 60 miles away. It just reappears.
Location of aliens or extraterrestrial.
An unidentified flying object.
Area 51.
It was September 19, 1961. An American couple named Barney and Betty Hill were driving back to Portsmouth from vacation in Niagara Falls. Just south of Lancaster, New Hampshire, Betty observed a bright point of light in the sky that moved from below the moon and the planet Jupiter, upward to the west of the moon. First she thought it was a falling star, but later it grew bigger and brighter. Betty urged Barney to stop the car for a closer look, as well as to walk their dog, Delcy. Betty, looking through binoculars, observed an odd-shaped craft flashing multicolored lights travel across the face of the moon. Because her sister had several years earlier said she had seen a flying saucer, Betty thought it might be what she was observing. The Hills quickly returned to the car and drove back. The couple watched as the silent, illuminated craft moved erratically and bounced back and forth in the night sky. About 1 mile south, they said, the object rapidly descended toward their vehicle, causing Barney to stop in the middle of the highway. It reminded Barney of a huge pancake. Carrying his pistol in his pocket, he stepped away from the vehicle and moved closer to the object. Barney saw 8 to 11 humanoid figures who were stepping out of flying objects. Barney saw figures like being but somehow not a human. After that, Barney threw the binoculars and ran away from the scene. He drove the car as fast as possible. Immediately after driving the car, that flying saucer started flying just above the car, and immediately the Hills felt a rhythmic series of vibration on their car and a tingling sensation passed through the Hills' bodies. The Hills said that then they experienced the onset of an altered state of consciousness. Throughout human history, there have been reports of mysterious objects in the sky. From ancient cave paintings to modern-day sightings, people have been fascinated by the idea of UFOs, unidentified flying objects. An unidentified flying object, UFO, is any perceived aerial phenomenon that cannot be immediately identified or explained. Scientists and skeptic organizations such as the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry have provided prosaic explanations for a large number of claimed UFOs being caused by natural phenomena, human technology, delusions, or hoaxes. Small but vocal groups of ufologists favor unconventional, pseudoscientific hypotheses, often claiming that UFOs are evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence. Beliefs surrounding UFOs have inspired parts of new religions. While unusual sightings have been reported in the sky throughout history, UFOs became culturally prominent after World War II, escalating during the space age. The term UFO was coined in 1953 by the United States Air Force to serve as a catch-all for all such reports. In its initial definition, the USAF stated that a UFO was any airborne object which by performance, aerodynamic characteristics, or unusual features, does not conform to any presently known aircraft or missile type, or which cannot be positively identified as a familiar object. During the late 1940s and through the 1950s, UFOs were often referred to popularly as flying saucers or flying discs, due to the term being introduced in the context of the Kenneth Arnold incident. The term UFO became more widespread during the 1950s, at first in technical literature, but later in popular use. UFOs garnered considerable interest during the Cold War, an era associated with heightened concerns about national security. UFOs have been subject to investigations over the years that varied widely in scope and scientific rigor. Governments or independent academics in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Japan, are known to have investigated UFO reports at various times. No official government investigation has ever publicly concluded that UFOs are indisputably real, physical objects, extraterrestrial in origin, or of concern to national defense. UFO sightings have been reported all over the world, with people claiming to see strange lights, unusual aircraft, and even otherworldly beings. In this video, we'll explore some of the most famous UFO sightings in history. One of the most famous UFO sightings of all time occurred in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. Many people believe that a UFO crashed in the desert outside the town, and that the U.S. government covered up the incident. On June 24, 1947, a pilot named Kenneth Arnold was flying near Mount Rainier in Washington when he reported seeing 9 bright, disc-shaped objects flying in a V formation at incredible speeds. The objects were unlike any aircraft he had ever seen.
He thought maybe the speed was 1,200 miles per hour, but then later it was calculated to be nearly 1,657 miles per hour. This was 3 times faster than any plane could fly in that time frame.
Sightings of unidentified aerial phenomena increased, and in 1948 the U.S. Air Force began an investigation of these reports called Project Sign. The initial opinion of those involved with the project was that the UFOs were most likely sophisticated Soviet aircraft, although some researchers suggested that they might be spacecraft from other worlds, the so-called extraterrestrial hypothesis. Similarly, Edward Nugent, an air traffic controller at Washington National Airport, was doing his job. While watching on the radar, he spotted 7 objects on his radar. At 11:40 p.m. on Saturday, July 19, 1952, Edward Nugent, an air traffic controller, spotted 7 objects located 15 miles south-southwest of the city. No known aircraft were in the area and the objects were not following any established flight paths. On March 13, 1997, at 7:55 p.m., a witness in Henderson, Nevada, reported seeing a large, V-shaped object traveling southeast. At 8:15 p.m., an unidentified former police officer in Paulden, Arizona, reported seeing a cluster of reddish-orange lights disappear over the southern horizon. Shortly afterwards, there were reports of lights seen over the Prescott Valley, Arizona. Tim Lay and his wife Bobby, his son Hal and his grandson Damian Turnage first saw the lights. At first, the lights appeared to them as 5 separate and distinct lights in an arc shape, as if they were on top of a balloon, but they soon realized that the lights appeared to be moving towards them. Over the next 10 or so minutes, the lights appeared to come closer, the distance between the lights increased, and they took on the shape of an upside-down V eventually, when the lights appeared to be a couple of miles away. Between 8:30 and 8:45 p.m., witnesses in Glendale, a suburb northwest of Phoenix, saw the light formation pass overhead at an altitude high enough to become obscured by the thin clouds. Amateur astronomer Mitch Stanley in Scottsdale, Arizona, also observed the high-altitude lights, flying in formation, through a telescope. According to Stanley, they were quite clearly individual airplanes. UFO reports have varied widely in reliability, as judged by the number of witnesses, whether the witnesses were independent of each other, the observing conditions, e.g., fog, haze, type of illumination, and the direction of sighting. UFOs have been the subject of investigations by various governments who have provided extensive records related to the subject. Many of the most involved government-sponsored investigations ended after agencies concluded that there was no benefit to continued investigation. These same negative conclusions also have been found in studies that were highly classified for many years, such as the UK's Flying Saucer Working Party. In the US, an opinion poll conducted in 1997 suggested that 80% of Americans believed the US government was withholding such information. The intense secrecy surrounding the secret Nevada base, known as Area 51, has made it the frequent subject of conspiracy theories and a central component of UFO folklore. In July 2019, more than 2 million people responded to a joke proposal to storm Area 51 which appeared in an anonymous Facebook post. 2 music festivals in rural Nevada, Alien Stock, and Storm Area 51 Base Camp, were subsequently organized to capitalize on the popularity of the original Facebook event. The mystery of UFO sightings continues to captivate people all over the world. While we may never know for certain what's behind these strange phenomena, we can continue to explore the topic with an open mind and a healthy dose of skepticism.